Okay, so this is yoga for when it's shit. And this is one of my own personal practices that I do when I feel a bit low, a bit anxious or whatever. I'm going to ask you to work intuitively, so you can drop and rest when you need to. You can substitute downward dogs for child poses. You can pick it up if you want to. The idea is that you get into your body. When you're stressed, when you're anxious, you're really in your head and you can't get sort of past those repetitive thought patterns and stuff like that. So we're going to just work to kind of decongest stuff in the head, connect us back to our body, and hopefully come away feeling better. That's the idea. You will need a chair at the end to use as a prop to rest against, so you can go grab that. But we're going to start against the wall. Before we do that, I just want you to kind of check in with your upper body, to check in with jaw tension, to check in with neck tension and, elevated shoulders and stuff. So before you come to the wall, just want you to do a couple of neck rolls. You can do a half one, which is dropping the chin to the chest, rolling to look down and over your left shoulder. If you're happy, if you want to take the full circle, don't let the scapula elevate as you take the neck all the way around. See how it feels, no pain. We'll just take one the other way. You can just kind of check in with position of your shoulders, the position of your scapula. Good, nice slow circles. You can do a couple more if you want to. But if you take yourself up against the wall, any way you want to, you don't have to be cross-legged, you can be straight-legged, you don't even have to have slippers on, just whatever feels good. And decide if you feel better with your head pressing against the wall with your sort of chest quite open, quite upright, or if you want to take a slightly more rounded slump, because who cares, this is about what feels good. Whatever way you're doing, you want to feel like the wall is supporting your back body, the floor is supporting the legs, any leg position that's comfy. And then the same with the arms. You don't want to force the arms into any position, and we kind of want to feel that we can switch the scapula off, that we can let the shoulders hang, and that's what's really important. No squeezing back and down or trying to make them do anything that they're not supposed to do naturally. So you want to try and assess what neutral is. Close your eyes and then decide, where do you feel better? Do you feel better pressing the head up against the wall, or do you want the head away from the wall? Is it nicer to just press the upper back into the wall? What are your shoulders doing? And when you're stressed, when you're anxious, it's quite hard for you to immediately find a belly breath. So don't worry about that yet. I just want you to find the pattern of the breath and notice how you're breathing. And it's probably shallow, it's probably a little bit, short, a little bit stressed. So if you can breathe in and out through the nose. If you want to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, what feels best. So rather than trying to move straight into deep belly breaths, just see if you can slow the breath down. And I want you to visualize your inhalations entering the body at the back of the throat. Not necessarily Ujjayi breath, if that's stressful. Just visualize the breath entering the body at the back of the throat, and visualize your inhalation as drawing down the back of your spine. So your inhales enter the back of the throat, draw down the back body. And with your inhalations, I want you to start to see if you can soften your scapula down. So they're letting go, they're not drawing down, they're not squeezing down, you're just allowing for that soft, releasing inhalation. And they run down the entire length of the back, from the back of the throat. You can kind of feel everything start to drop down in towards the floor. So inhaling down. And let the inhalations take your shoulders down with you. Let your inhalations drop your brain down. So all of that chatter, all of that nervous energy, all of that horrible stuff that you've got going on in the head, just see if you can let it drop. Soft inhalations down. And then your exhalations, you're going to take them from the sort of tip of the tailbone to run them up the front of the spine and up and out through the chest. So don't take those inhalations back up into the head. So we inhale down, we exhale up and out the front of the chest. So you're aware that the chest is open. You're going to start to get rid of that compression in the chest. Inhaling down, exhaling up and out. So maybe just find another 5 or 6 breaths here. They might have slowed down, they might stay exactly the same. See if they can be smooth. And see if that process of releasing the jaw tension, the shoulder tension, you can start to feel that. You can start to feel that your back body, even the skin of the back body, can soften down. And the exhalations, there's almost that sense of relief as you lift them up and out of the chest. And we're going to hold that idea as we move through the practice today. So just take a couple more breaths. And then you should feel that to some degree the shoulders have switched off. Maybe not fully, but maybe to some degree that they've switched off slightly. So if your eyes are closed, don't just rush to open the eyes. Take that gentle opening, kind of take in the light in the room, take in the surroundings. Notice if your head's dropping forwards or not. And we're just going to work on upright. We just want this idea of looking forwards rather than looking down, rather than that sense of compression. We just want to keep the head upright. So if you're against the wall, you can scoot yourself away from the wall. Remove unicorn slippers, whatever else it is you've got going on. And then you can start to just work really with some pelvic tilting. So just to see where your spine is today. So you can work this with the breath, inhaling, coming into a little bit of an extension, and exhaling to drop back. So we're not really worried about how big this action is. We just want to start to feel, and we really want to connect into what is contacting the floor. When you're anxious, you tend to get a little bit floaty, a little bit up in the head. So it's kind of good to remember that there is solid ground beneath you. There is earth beneath you. There's a whole earth beneath you. And you're just kind of in your little place in the world. But you can expand away from that a little bit. Good. If it feels right to you, come into what you consider like a neutral spine, a little bit of awareness in the belly to kind of support that lower back, a little bit of pelvic floor lift. And we're going to take the arms all the way up. Maybe they're nice here, maybe you can reach the arms more. Don't work too much into the back bend. And then using the strength of the belly, we're going to rotate towards that top leg. Okay, using the strength of the belly, I want you to reach the arms back and come into a gentle twist. And you can use that front hand to gently draw you around, but it's the back shoulder blade. Notice if it starts to hunch up around the ear, give you an attractive double chin, or if you can draw the shoulder blade down onto the back. And there'll be some sort of sensation around the base of the scapula on that opposite shoulder. Can you draw the belly in, and can you hold this here? Is the pelvis moving or shifting? I want you to think of length through the spine, grounding all the way down. Good. And then take it all the way back to center. And we're coming to the other side, raise the arms up. Notice if you're overusing that back bend, and then you're going to rotate to the other side. Reach the hands across. So the back scapula rolls onto the back and draws down. Use a little bit of effort in the arms to twist you around so you can get that sensation across the base of the scapula, that stuck part that tends to happen when you're anxious. If you can, lift the arms away and see if you can hold this here with the strength of the belly, the strength of the muscles of the back. Good, and then take it all the way back to center. Good. If you want to, you can lean back to change sides. I'm going to come back through like either an Ardha Navasana with the feet down, or you can float the feet up. This is about what feels good. So we're going to check in with some sort of gentle shoulder rolls, nothing too much. Good, and then we'll switch legs. So it's left leg on top this time for me. Might be the opposite for you. Good, and this time take the arms all the way up. Draw the belly in. See if you get a little bit more extension, a little bit more height. Can you lift the base of the shoulders up so you're aware? You're not compressing the neck here. You can still move the head freely. And as you rotate, keep that elevation as you draw the arms nice and wide and open. So you can stay here at this sort of relatively easy high twist, or you can start to lean forwards. Maybe you can hook the elbow. And I want you to really find sensation here. I really hope my nipple's not hanging out. Extra bonus if it is. Good, so it's just about drawing and opening the chest and sort of finding that compression through the belly, not in the diaphragm, not in those lower ribs. Good, feeling that sticky point across the base of the scapula or even between the scapulas. Good, and then come all the way back. Take it all the way up. Be quite intuitive. How does it feel? Where's stuck? Where can you loosen? Where can you lift? Can you get the lift of the base of the scapula? Rotate the other way. Maybe staying here. I'm going to have to because of the wall. But if you can, lean down, take that hook and take that rotation. Be aware that this side doesn't lift up as you rotate. See if you can release that place between the shoulders. Good, and then take it all the way around to centre. Come back through that Navasana. Maybe another little shoulder roll. Maybe if you've got some sort of coordination, you can reverse the direction of the shoulder roll. And then whichever leg is the comfiest one, take it over to all fours. I want you to be aware of the dropping of the head. Okay, so we want to kind of keep the head upright. It has a little bit more positive effect on us. We're just going to circle the chest to work into warming up the wrists. If that doesn't feel good, don't do the circles. And you can get a little bit more playful, I suppose, as we turn the hands away, turn the fingers away from each other. If you don't want to circle, you can just stay completely static, that's fine. And it's kind of up to you, it's up to your wrists, what feels good. If you want to take them all the way around, you can do this one at a time. We can do this both together, but we are going to put some weight on the hands in a second. So, is the lower back collapsing? Have you still got that awareness through the base of the pelvic floor? Good. And just checking in with what's stiff, what's tight, what feels good. Just when you feel like you've managed to open up through the wrists here, we're going to take it back over to all fours. And then coming straight up, downward dog. Remember, you can opt to just drop back into some sort of Virasana or child's pose. In downward facing dog, we really want to feel the length of the arms, the softness of the neck, just like when you were raising the arms before you came into the twist. Are the shoulders scrunching up around the ears? Or can you allow the scapula to depress? You don't want to jam them onto the back, but you just want to feel that you have that control, you have that stability in them. Then can you keep the pelvis still? Some people, you want to start to extend through straighter legs. If you feel like you're rocking all over the place, then don't do this. How's the belly? Is the belly soft? Is there tension there? And as you work the legs, do you start to bring stress into the shoulders, or can you keep them not all scrunched up around the ears, but kind of spacious? So you can really start to connect. Good. And then we're going to lift the head, look forwards, and I kind of want you to move really slowly, really consciously as you drop down into all fours. Once the knees hit the floor, keep it really, really soft. Untuck the toes and then work into that pelvic tilt that will take you all the way up the spine into cat-cow. So the head lifts last. And then just working gently using the pelvic tuck, working all the way up the spine. And if this action is jerky, if you can't sort of create a smooth action, then just be okay with that. Are you still inhaling down the back? Are you still exhaling? So keep it positive, keep that chest open. Good. From that sort of gentle back bend, allow the shoulders to decompress again, and then it will take you up into the flat-backed Adho Mukha, into the flat-back downward dog. No stress in the neck, and it might be more obvious now, the position that the shoulders are in. And we want to just start to get into the backs of the legs. Good. Think of long arms plugging into the sides of the body to lengthen the spine so that the belly remains hollow. If you want to, you're going to come into a plank this time. If you want to drop onto the knees, then that's absolutely fine. So in your plank, feel the connection to the front body here. Feel the legs support your plank, that the engaged thighs support your plank, that you've got that slight lift of the pubic bone towards the sternum and that slight drag of the heel of the hands back towards the feet to support this here. Good. And then again, knees come down. We're going to start to tilt into that back bend. We're probably going to hit the bolster. But as we come down, we're going to lay all the way down onto the belly. Rest your forehead on the floor. Pop up onto your fingertips, but keep the hands beside you. And then see if you can slowly roll the shoulders. Full range of motion. Once the shoulders are kind of squeezing onto the back, you can raise the head and the chest, and I'm putting almost no weight into the fingertips. But where feels good? Do you want to pop a little bit more weight in? Can the feet stay down as you do this? Good, and then take it all the way down as you tuck the toes. Press up, either just through all fours, you can reverse plank if you want to. If downward dog isn't feeling great, take all fours, take cat-cow. Downward dog feels good, we're going to move from here. So I'm going to raise my right heel to my right sit bone, and I'm keeping the knee in line with the left knee. I want you to keep the chest back as you bring the knee forward. So we start to work into the core. I'm going to come forward. Remember, you can do this from all fours into a plank position. Then working into like a hovering pigeon, I'm going to externally rotate that right leg. And this is not dipping in the pelvis, this is just using that sort of femur, that thigh bone, to externally rotate here. Then I want to press the foot, the shin and the knee down towards the floor and ground them into the floor. As I do that, I'm still externally rotating and pulling that thigh back. You might want to stay here. I always find the hips get really sticky when you're stressed as well. So we want to keep this super, super, super active. So I'm going to turn on the back butt cheek. I'm still drawing it back. So technically if I took my hands away, the legs are supporting this completely. But you can use the hands there to just keep the chest open. Is your head dropping forwards, or can you keep that upright? If you can keep everything on, you can drop the back knee down and slide it back. But again, we're still upright here. It's really important to watch that this back leg doesn't collapse. You're lifting with the inner back thigh. So I don't want you to collapse fully into this pigeon because I still want this leg to be on. It's almost like you're kind of pushing away from the floor in both legs here. So that now when we push down into the hands, we lift the back knee up, we can pick that front leg up and it stays in exactly that position. And then you're going to transfer it back into that downward facing dog with the leg here. And I need to shift forward a little bit because this is a small space. Awesome. Other side. As you sort of find that one-legged downward dog, I want you to bring the knee forwards, almost super gluing your thigh towards your ribs as you come into that one-legged plank, and then that external rotation from the pigeon. Okay, so then as you press everything down to the floor, the back leg still stays on. You're going to externally rotate the left hip as you slide the back leg back. So if you could, you should be able to find your balance here. So you can stay here and keep this really active using your right butt cheek, or you can pop the right knee down. Still drive the floor away of that front leg and still pull the left hip back, lifting with the inner back thigh to kind of stabilise you here. So you feel like everything is really strong. And like I say, stress, when you're stressed in the jaw, when you're stressed in the shoulders, you're stressed in the hips as well. So we want to stay active rather than floppy and collapse here. Good, so now when we lift the back knee and we can pick up that back foot, we connect into the strength of the body. We start to bring everything together. Take the leg back into that downward dog and then we release it down. If you want to drop and take a child's pose, that's fine, but see if the neck is still soft. Check in with the scapula. Are they scrunching up? Can you draw them down? Similar, but we're going to step forward into a little bit more of a lunge now. So as I raise the right heel, kick the butt, I'm going to keep the chest where it is, bring the knee forward, and then glue the knee to the chest as I lift onto the back tiptoes. I want to aim to, as slowly as I can, bring that foot forward. As I lift the heel of the hand, it's a cheat, we can step the foot forward. Okay, back knee is going to drop down, super, super lightly, so there's barely any sound. Tucking the tailbone under, we're going to come all the way back up. So you can just stay here. You should feel that the arms can kind of dangle here, your shoulders in line with your hips. If it feels good, take the arms all the way up. Again, what feels good? Are the shoulders decompressing? Can you still draw them down the back? You can stay here, or you can come into a little teeny tiny side bend over to the right. And the more you tuck under your sort of left hip, your left tailbone, you should get quite a deep stretch through that front of the left thigh, left psoas, left hip flexor, that sort of thing. And then visualize that you've got like that helium balloon between your hands, so you keep that elevation of the arms. The more you lift up with the arms, the more you tuck under with the tailbone, the more you kind of connect this into that left side. Good. As you come up, we're going to gently start to lean forward. As we lean forward, the right hip pulls back, and we're going to super lightly pick that back knee up. So we've still got that helium balloon between the hands, they're not dropping, and we want to connect into that gaze forwards. Really important. We want to sort of start to turn things a little bit more positive here. Good. And then I'm going to take it back down into that lunge. You can drag the foot back, or you can try and pick it up to that kind of one-legged plank, and this will take you all the way back to that one-legged downward facing dog. Good. The foot releases. Make those little adjustments, check in with the scapula. Allow them to decompress. Do the same on the left side, so left heel kicks. And then as you draw it in, super glue it, lift the head as you lift onto the tiptoes. Now you might find that just because of body shapes or whatever, your foot gets stuck here. that's fine. You can lift it and bring it forwards. The slower you lower that knee down, the softer you land it, and then you can take that up into that kind of flowing, undulating movement. If you just want to keep the arms into that dangle, that's fine, but I don't need to work into a back bend here. We want to tuck the tailbone. Take it up. Good, and then think of that forward gaze. Super, super, super important. Okay, I've not got a lot of room here, but the more you engage, yeah, we don't want to work into that lumbar spine, and coming into that gentle lean to the side. Visualize that helium balloon to sort of take you up. And it's almost like by keeping that gaze steady and forwards, it kind of helps you to have a little bit more of a positive attitude. Still think about your breath. Your inhalations draw down. Your exhalations lift up. You want to sort of turn this into a little bit more positive. Good. And then we take it up. And then I'm going to do this together. As I start to hinge forward, I find the strength of that back leg. It acts like a tiny little push to bring me here. Arms in line with the ears. Gaze forwards. Not up, just forwards. And then a little bit harder on this leg. Left side is the tense side. Good, and then gently release the hands down. And again, if you struggle to bring the foot back, you can kind of slide it rather than lifting it back into that downward facing dog. Release down and start to walk the feet forwards. The softer you are, the slower that you are, the more you have to concentrate. So your forward bend, if you've got straight legs and you're drawing down towards the floor, you get a lot of congestion here. So if you've got bent legs, and you can roll the shoulders away, you can connect back into that softness of the neck. Good. And at the end of the day, this is about decongesting stuff. This is about kind of energetically releasing some shit. And that's not actual shit, but just like emotional shit. So lead up with the chest. Keep that positive. I know this might cut my head off, but you don't need to see that. So in standing, in neutral, be aware of the feet. Particularly be aware of like your 3 balance points of the feet. Heel is the centre at the back of the foot, and then the ball of the foot, you've got the 2 sides of the foot, and you want to keep those rooted there. You can use the wall to hold on to it if you need to. I'm going to take the right leg up. I'm going to work kind of through a hip car to drive me into this. So as I lift that right knee as high as I can forwards, I'm going to keep the left hip stable as I externally rotate and lift the right knee out to the side. Then I'm going to start to internally rotate that right leg. As I do that, my left knee will bend, and almost like a reverse ninja kick, it's going to take me back. So I'm going to press the palms together in front of my chest. This means I can roll the shoulders back. Now, the standing leg can be bent, it can be straight, but I want you to extend and keep that gaze forwards. Your back leg, if you lift with the inner right thigh, you'll find the stability here. Your front leg slightly externally rotates the floor leg. Now, if you reach the arms forward, does that make everything feel heavy and drop down? It probably does. So I want you to kind of keep those shoulders open here. Then we're going to reverse it. My left leg bends. I'm going to start to reverse that kind of opening to bring it back to standing. Good, and then take it all the way down. So this makes you really kind of aware of the floor. I'm just going to move out from the wall again. So not using the wall is harder. Left knee lifts and externally rotates. And I don't want that right hip to move at all. So as I start to internally rotate the left thigh, I start to bend that right knee. Keep the gaze forward and find that stability. Straight right leg is not important. The right hip draws back, the left inner thigh lifts. Now extend the chest forward. So you can play around now, maybe the arms wide out to the side. Whoa. And just kind of find that balance. You know, we're connecting into this positive open chest, gazing forwards and being aware that we've got this kind of like massive fat earth underneath us it's got us, it's okay, we're not going anywhere. And then as we reverse it, bending that right knee, reversing to bring that left knee all the way up. Good, and then planting it back down and just having that moment with both feet connected. Feel both sides of the ball of each foot, feel the centre of the heel. Feel the strength of the legs as they connect up into the pelvis. Check in with the shoulders. Can they hang? Are they starting to scrunch up? Are they starting to do things that you don't need them to do? Okay, and if it feels okay, you take it wide. I'm going to take it wide, and you can do this with bent legs, you can do this with straight legs. Have that same connection of the feet here. And then at first we're just going to kind of hinge forward into Parsarita Padottanasana. Okay. Notice that the gaze stays forward, the chest stays forward, so you really feel the hip hinge. And depending on like flexibility and stuff like that, you can have your fingertips onto blocks. Okay. We need to pull and elevate and lengthen the chest forwards. And if you need to bend the knees here, that's absolutely fine. It's not about finding stress, but we're just going to find a couple of the shoulder circles. So you can just feel what's going on. Again, don't hang the head here. Keep the legs nice and strong. Keep the spine nice and long. And then you might want to stay with these. You might want to stay in this extended position. Or you might want to fold a little bit further forward. Keep that kind of positive, open chest. Not about stressing the backs of the legs at all. And I'm kind of using the hip hinge to take me down. I'm not forcing myself down into this at all. If the shoulders collapse around the neck, take them back. Extend the chest forwards as you draw down. If you need some sort of connection to something, it's a really light fingertip touch. Those of you who want to get a little bit deeper into the shoulders, you can steeple hands. You can just touch the fingertips. This makes them work a little bit harder. If you're a little bit more classic, you can interlace and reach over, but just feel the difference. Which feels stressful? It's sometimes just forcing into something that feels stressful. I'm really trying to squeeze my back fat together between my shoulder blades. Feels good. And if I feel stress in the back of the legs, take a little bend of the knees. Trying to hang out here with this breath. So even though we're still breathing down the back, up and out through the chest, technically it's reversed, it's upside down. Good, and then a really easy ping of the arms as you take the hands all the way back. Okay, strong legs, heel toe the feet in. And drop it down into squat. And I'm really going to take my time in this squat so I can get the feet right. Turning the feet out so that your knee is in line with those second and third toes. So you're actively trying to drive the knees apart. And we're not collapsing in a squat here. We're going to stay quite upright, so we're really sort of using the outer hip muscles to support ourselves here. And this is quite hard work, but you've got sort of enough space in the hips, and you're not going into that collapsing depth. So you should feel quite strong as you stand here. Yeah, we are standing. Good, and then take it all the way down. You can ping up into Navasana, or you can just reach it all the way down into the floor. So one of the things that happens is you tend to get really stressed in the shoulders. So I'm going to come into some back bends, and I know that when I'm stressed, sort of cage myself in a little bit. Then you do that whole protection thing. So we want to work into opening that. And back bends can be overstimulating, they can be nicely stimulating. So you want to get to the point where they're nicely stimulating. So a nice, slow, effortless roll down. I say effortless, I don't mean effortless. It's an effort. Good. Setting up the feet for bridge. We'll just go quite classic. So feet, the heels are hip width just wider, the toes turn in but the knees don't collapse. And if you just wanted to work into pelvic tilting, pressing the lower back down and tilting, this might feel quite nice. Don't overdo the sort of back bend in the lower back. Good. If it feels that you want to come up to bridge, we're really going to make this about the shoulders. So as you tuck the tailbone, press the lower back in, you're going to sort of gently lift the pelvis, and you'll feel there's a point where it gets stuck. You'll also feel the point where the abs want to take over. So you're using the backs of the legs, kind of dragging the heels back to switch on the hamstrings to allow the glutes to support this. Can't go any higher unless I actively tuck under the shoulders and kind of think of walking them down. So we move into that really attractive double chin. The chest draws towards the chin, chin down towards the chest. Don't flare the knees apart, but thinking of pushing them forwards to create more length. And it's the same thing, kind of interlacing the hands underneath, it creates almost like a force. It can feel good or it can feel too much. Can you hollow the belly here? And this might be it. This might be where you want to stay. But it's quite nice to work into that, because if you've been feeling shit, you just think, I've got to break out of this shitty feeling. If you do practice Urdhva, it's a good point to just, do it slowly. So we're not just relying on this rah. We want to kind of extend up with a little bit of control. And it should feel that you can, I'm not saying talk, but it should be that effortless. I'm not overdoing it, I'm not going for a deeper back bend than I want to. It feels really even everywhere. And then that easing back down into the bridge. As you bend the elbows, you tuck the chin. So you end up back in that bridge pose. Then we tuck the pelvis as we lower all the way back down. So repeat bridge, repeat Urdhva. We'll just stay calm with the pelvic tilts. It's about listening to the body. I'm going to just bung in an Ustrasana because it's a thing that I feel when you really do work on that elevation of the chest, it can really help to decompress the shoulders, which can really release some of your shit. So this is, again, if you practice it, it's a good one to go for. If not, don't do it. Resting the hands onto top of the butt. So just kind of create some space in the lower back so you can really feel that tilt and that tuck under the pelvis. You're going to feel that your quads are taking this, that they're doing all of the work in the front body. So you've got that relationship with the tailbone tucking under, the support of the back body. And then it's just that lift of the sternum as you draw the shoulders together, as you draw the scapula down. So that supported Ustrasana is gorgeous. And you can kind of hang here if you want to. If you want to take it deeper, this is about listening. You can reach the arms back somewhere. There's the feet. Good, but the hips need to draw forwards. Not about being stressful. It's still about inhaling down the back and exhaling. You've kind of got this now. So whatever's pissing you off, let it go. If you've got the backs of the legs on, it's a supported version of Ustrasana. So you take it down and it feels good. You kind of got to tap into that energy of the back bend, which can lift things up in slightly excessive way. But that's good, don't worry. We'll calm it back down again. So then, just releasing the back, you can come into some sort of Upavista, sit up on a block if you need to. Be sensible, do whatever you need to do. But if you find it very difficult, if you feel like you're dumping into your lumbar, if your toes are rolling back, you're sitting too far back. So you might need to bend the knees and you might need to just push up onto those fingertips to lift and extend the chest. And that's fine, stay here. If you want to go teeny tiny bit further, and just to sort of find a little bit more release through the back and through the spine, then do this with bent legs. But we're going to take the arms out to the side and just again find that length, find that lift, and see if you can drop the scapula down. I'm going to rotate towards my left leg and just gently press those fingertips. So going into that rotation, that twist, watch that the pelvis isn't shifting, that the feet aren't shifting. And then we're going to kind of just flow sort of quite gradually. So as I lean to the right, I'm kind of ignoring that right leg. I might want to rest the elbow there, or I can bring the back of the left hand up the back. So it's just kind of mid-back, it's not way up between the shoulder blades. And this will just enable me to draw this shoulder back. So I keep the left side of my sit bone grounded down. So just a couple of breaths, we're not being too far, so we're going to repeat this a few times each side. So it's that lift, the rotation, the ignoring of the back leg, maybe bringing that hand up as you ground through that right side, and rotate down. So again, it's gradual, and you can, I don't know, you can get kind of like funky with the arms, but you can keep them quite grounded. This whole thing is about letting stuff go. So if you're building tension, I want you to feel like you've got into all the stuff, but you're not trying to get anywhere. You're just trying to be with sensations and, you know, maybe being with the breath. You're creating space. You don't want to hit blocks. You don't want to hit absolute end ranges. You still want to feel that you can kind of flow. And then maybe there's that slight sense of the back bend left over, or maybe you pick the really, really calm one, but we'll just do this as the last side. Good. And then again, when you come back to center, you can just work on that kind of leaning back to pop, sort of push your chest forward so that you can start to work into safe legs. Or if it feels awesome, if it feels really, really good, take the arms up, stay here. Good. Or without using any sort of external force, you can start to hinge forward. I don't want your arms to drop. Keep them in line with the ears, and then create more length as you root down through the sit bone. So we're going to go super duper slow here. And you can stop. Let's say your limit was back here. Just drop the hands down and you work on those decompressing of the shoulders, and you come back to this idea of the breath dropping. But you can just go to, as long as the legs are on, and as long as you're pulling that length and that extension, you take your time. Any props that you need, you can use bolsters, you can use whatever you want. You take the time to ground back, and then once the fingertips are down, it's almost like they drag back slightly to lift the chest forwards. So you can work into more length, more extension, but also that softness and that release of the scapula. And then reversing, when you come up to lift the head, we lift the arms. Come all the way up. Well, we've stayed up, it doesn't matter. Good, release the arms all the way down and just check in with those shoulders. So to finish, it's probably the most important bit. You can skip all of that and just come to this bit if you want to. This is where it might be really nice to use your chair. So we want to bring your forehead against the seat of the chair. So a cross-legged is quite nice if you want to go back to Upavista, you can go wide leg, you can go sort of Baddha Konasana, or you can go Dandasana legs and just rest there. For the sake of this, I'm going to use my bolster. And I'm going to go cross-legged because it's what I like best. So as I keep the back long, I can make a little pillow with my hands, and I want to rest my forehead against my hands. This actually feels better. Okay. And I can work on decompressing the shoulders. So I want you to take a little bit of time to set yourself up into somewhere where you can relax like that. Because when you press something, hands, block, whatever it's going to be, you can pad yourself out as much as you want to against the forehead. It can really help with that chatter that you have going on in the head. So take your time to set yourself up. Don't feel like you're leaning down to it. You want to kind of keep everything nice and elevated and upright. And then making sure that the legs aren't in an uncomfortable position. You can move them if you need to, don't let them distract you. But as you close the eyes, you can start to feel the body, and you can start to feel if those sort of like pesky shoulders have started to tense up, or if they never did release at all. But come back to that breath. If you want to deepen it, deepen it. If you want to keep it completely natural, keep it completely natural. You're going to start to inhale down the back. And the back feels quite wide and open here. So inhale down the entire length of the back and see if you can soften everything. You can soften the neck muscles, you can soften the scapula, and you can soften the skin. You can allow everything to drop, almost like it's kind of washing down the back. Anything you've got going on, release it down the back, release it down into the floor, let it go. Keep the chest elevated and open, let your exhalations come out, they're easy. And then you can kind of identify what's going on inside. And by pressing against the forehead, you can let those sort of forefront thoughts move away. And then you can realise that these thoughts, this chatter, these emotions, all of this stuff is just noise. And that noise is just an energy. It's an energy that you choose to label. You choose to label frustration, you choose to label anger, you choose to label hate. But really they're just bubbling away as an energy. Let them bubble away. But take your awareness back to the breath. Inhaling down. Exhaling easily up and out. In every breath, you can release more. You can become aware of how wide, how spacious the back body is, how strong the back body is, and how soft your shoulders can be, how soft your brain can be, how soft your thoughts can be. And just stay here with that breath pattern as long as you need.